I believe creativity is not a luxury. It is a survival tool, a stewardship practice, and a catalyst for systemic change. It's not a luxury or a job title. Creativity is not just for the creatives. It's not a privilege, a perk, or a personality trait. Today, I want to share with you my belief. It is a collective right and a community necessity. Practicing creativity together is not optional. I believe it is essential for addressing many of our shared crises today. I also believe it's a collective survival skill, and it is critical today, perhaps more than ever. It creates a public resource that becomes a civic muscle, and I believe we need to practice it together to face what is ahead. What do I mean by capital? It's so much more than money. I believe capital is not just what we accumulate, it is what we activate. Capital is any value-generating resource, and it's so much more than money. It's physical, it's human, it's intellectual, it's social, and it is financial. When you have tools, when you have knowledge, when you have expertise, when you have communities and networks, you have capital. In fact, creativity is our most vital and essential form of capital, because without it, we only have raw potential. Creativity, when practiced collectively, is the connective tissue of transformation. I'll speak to this briefly. I have so much more to share with you. I'm Abby Lehman. I'm a strategic advisor. I build ecosystems, and I now work more in capital strategy. My work has spanned sectors and generations, blending storytelling, strategy, and capital to cultivate trust and momentum around what matters most. This is a sampling of some of the organizations and projects I've had the privilege to be a part of, but I want to take you back to one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. Being 12 years old and watching 9/11 as a fourth-generation New Yorker was heartbreaking. It was devastating, but the wound was not just physical. It was psychic, social, and economic, of course. There were $83 billion in losses. But in the void, New York City does exactly what we do. We didn't just rebuild buildings, we unleashed collective creativity. Architects, artists, planners, and everyday citizens imagined more than recovery. We sparked a revival. You can see the High Line here that has become, from abandoned train tracks, a glorious park of art and nature, cultivating presence and peace in a busy city. And then came 2020. I'm sure I don't need to tell you what happened. However, we were told New York City is dead and never coming back. But instead, I refused to give in to despair and a narrative of decline, even when, living atop Mount Sinai West, my block became a morgue. Instead, we turned our pain into public contribution. And for me, the opposite of fear is love. And so this is what I did with my pandemic. Besides working on other projects, this one is nearest and dearest to my heart, and it's a privilege to share it with you. My grandparents, my beloved grandparents, who I've had the privilege of traveling the world with, the first time in 50 years, they were home for their anniversary due to the pandemic. So I turned that opportunity into something extraordinary. When they told us New York City is dead, I thought, tell that to Sally and Maurice, who have lived through wars, depression, and endless challenges and overcame tremendous adversity. What I did was start to cultivate a public-private partnership for purpose. I pitched and co-created a winning idea, a community photo contest that sent 20 couples to New York City to the historic hotel where they had honeymooned 75 years prior. As a national landmark, it had been closed due to refurbishment. We turned it into this wonderful campaign that sparked tourism, won awards, and helped revitalize our city and remind us of what's most important. Being a New Yorker, I truly invite you to reflect on this moment, and I'll build to why. But just like my grandparents stood as witnesses of resilience and reinvention, so too does Lady Liberty. In fact, this is the collective creative capital I want to draw your attention to most. She was born not of one benefactor, but hundreds of thousands of everyday people. The Statue of Liberty was a gift from the people of France to the people of the United States. Donations of dimes and pennies built more than a monument. They practiced democracy by funding it. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. So we New Yorkers and we Americans, we have this instinct and spirit of rebuilding and building anew. And what better example than the pedestal of Lady Liberty built by 160,000 everyday donors. It's a design pattern for participation and collective funding as civic engagement. She's truly known, her full name is the Statue of Liberty Enlightening the World. And what a poignant day to be sharing this with you, Juneteenth, the day marking when the last enslaved Americans were freed. This statue, yes, is a testament to unity and shared purpose and civic engagement, but it's important to know she was also controversial in her time. She was protested by suffragettes who thought this woman, this goddess of liberty, mocked the fact that women could not vote. Chinese Americans, or at the time not yet Americans, were not allowed to become citizens. The work of liberty was yet to be fully promised. She was a gift, but not a contract, or rather she was, in the end, an aspiration, and begs the question, can we continue the unfinished work ourselves? Can we build better together? To celebrate 100 years of raising the Statue of Liberty, an incredible people's masterpiece emerged. The City Kids Foundation worked with street artist Keith Haring to create his largest freestanding artwork. It was art as social practice and a civic beacon. 10 stories high, 1,000 youths were brought in from all 5 boroughs to the Javits Center. Now, in 2026, they will be reimagining a Relight the Torch campaign. I want to draw your attention to the fact that her arm is wobbly, and when asked about this, Keith Haring said, well, the work of liberty is wobbly. We all have to sustain it. This was civic imagination in motion, collective creativity as a declaration of belonging. By involving youth in public art, Haring democratized the artistic process and empowered a new generation of thinkers and doers. Around the world, this ritual has been performed beautifully, and I take great inspiration, and I invite you to do the same. This bridge in Mostar was destroyed during internal conflict and then rebuilt. It wasn't just about rebuilding the stone, but solidarity. People from Bosnia, Croatia, and Serbia, Muslims, Jews, and Christians, all came together in this ritual of repair. It was a bridge that rewove a community that had been torn apart. In Colombia, weapons had been collected by the UN after 50 years of rebel warfare, left 260,000 people dead and 7 million displaced. And those guns were melted down and turned into tiles and connected communities between the US, Cuba, and Colombia who had been part of the peace talks, creating peace through participatory art. Lastly, Juneteenth, today in Alabama at the Equal Justice Initiative, all of the sites of racial terror have now been honored in a sacred space. Transformation through collective transcendence, through art and music and concerts, because we here too are reckoning with history. It's a reframing of mourning into culture, celebration, and truth-telling, which brings us to creative capital. It becomes the infrastructure that we build upon to do other great things together. Creativity is meta-capital. It creates all other forms of value. Unlike finite assets, it expands when it's shared, and it fuels innovation and repair. Lastly, as the scaffolding of trust and innovation, it then becomes the muscle memory we call upon when we need to collaborate on more difficult endeavors. I also wanted to draw attention to what earlier speakers shared as well. When we work together creatively, we're promoting neuroplasticity. Oxytocin becomes the neurochemical of community building and social bonding. Mirror neurons allow us to build empathy and understand one another, and the coherence between different parts of our brains allow us to make meaning. When we can speak to our challenges, we can then overcome them. This is what leads me to believe that creativity is our most precious resource. It's profound and it's deep, and it's our deepest source of capital. It is a public good, it is a public necessity, and a survival tool. At this moment, as a New Yorker, I take great pride in sharing with you that we will be celebrating our 400th anniversary this year. By a show of hands, how many of you knew that? Amazing, right? At this moment, it's been lost in a greater conversation, and I say that we use this moment for commemoration, for murals, marches, music, meals. Do what New York does best. In addition, we can rebuild and reimagine together. Next year marks the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Our spine of the city, Fifth Avenue, just celebrated its 200th anniversary. The dedication of the Statue of Liberty was 140 years ago. The Metropolitan wing, the American wing of the Metropolitan Museum is celebrating its 100th, and then my own organization, PhotoStart, is celebrating its 10th. With my older brother, oh, thank you. As a co-founder and board member of this global nonprofit, we empower youth around the world to share their story, find their voice, and live into their fullest potential. I submit to you, we're at a threshold. And I ask you, what are we going to build from this moment of so many convergent legacies? What does this moment ask of us as creators and citizens and ancestors in the making? So now, I want to issue an invitation to all of you. I have been assembling a group of amazing organizations and collaborators, and I invite you to join all of us in this moment of commemoration. So New York City is turning 400. It's our canvas right now to reimagine the next chapter. So I want to invite you all cordially to join me in a working group where together we can honor the past, meet this moment, and forge our future together. I want to end, yes, with gratitude, but before then, I want to share, you do not need to save the entire world. You just need to light the next torch. Thank you so much, everyone.